He stood up, helped Joan to her feet. The audience was crying now. Not just a few people, most of them. Johnny looked at Joan. "I forgive you, not because you came here, not because you begged, but because holding on to this is killing me too. So I forgive you. But Joan," he paused, made sure she was listening. "I can't be your friend again. I can't pretend this didn't happen. I forgive you. But we're done." Joan nodded. "I understand." Johnny turned to the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, Joan Rivers." The applause was deafening. Joan tried to hug him. Johnny let her, but his arms didn't really hug back, just tolerated it. And then Joan walked off that stage, alone. The show continued. Johnny did his interviews, made his jokes, but anyone watching closely could see he was shaken, that something had broken open inside him. When the show ended, he went to his dressing room and sat in silence for an hour. Ed came in, sat beside him. "You did the right thing," Ed said. Johnny shook his head. "I don't know what the right thing was. I just know I couldn't watch her suffer anymore." Ed nodded. "She destroyed herself, Johnny, not you." Johnny looked at him. "Then why do I feel like I destroyed her too?" Joan Rivers never appeared on The Tonight Show again. Johnny never invited her back, but something shifted after that night. Johnny stopped talking about her with bitterness, and Joan, who had hit rock bottom, slowly started to rebuild. She got a daytime talk show, built a new career, became an icon. But she never stopped saying in every interview, "I betrayed Johnny Carson. It was the worst mistake of my life. And even though he forgave me, I've never forgiven myself." Johnny Carson retired in 1992, died in 2005, and Joan Rivers, who outlived him by 9 years, spoke at his memorial. Not at the funeral. She wasn't invited to that. But at a public memorial. And she said, "Through tears, Johnny Carson made me, and I broke his heart, and I've spent every day since trying to be worthy of the chance he gave me. I hope, wherever he is, he knows how sorry I am, and how grateful I am, and how much I loved him." What most people don't know is that Johnny kept every letter Joan sent after that night. Every apology, every attempt to reconnect. He never responded, but he kept them. Because Johnny Carson, for all his coldness, for all his control, never stopped caring. He just never stopped hurting either. And some wounds, no matter how much you forgive, never fully heal. That night in 1987, on live television in front of 30 million people, Joan Rivers fell to her knees and begged for forgiveness, and Johnny Carson gave it to her. But forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still lose them. You can let go of anger and still carry the scar. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit that some things, once broken, can never be fully repaired. What would you have done in Johnny's position? What would you have done in Joan's? If this story moved you, consider subscribing. These moments deserve to be remembered. The stage manager appeared in the doorway. "Ed, we're on in 20 minutes. Is she going on?" Ed looked at Judy. She was trying to stand now, using the wall for support. Her legs wouldn't cooperate. She fell back down, tried again. This time she made it to her feet, but she was swaying. Ed turned to the stage manager. "Give me 10 minutes. The stage manager left. Ed looked at Judy's assistant. "Get her some food, coffee, water, now." The woman rushed out. Ed helped Judy to a chair, sat across from her. "Judy, look at me," she tried. Her eyes kept sliding away. "Judy, you don't have to do this." Judy's face crumpled. "Yes, I do. I need the money. Ed, I'm broke. I owe everyone. If I don't perform, they'll sue me. They'll take everything." Ed's voice was gentle, but firm. There is no everything left, Judy. You're dying. Can't you see that? Judy started crying, real tears cutting through the smeared makeup. I know, but I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to be anything except this. If I'm not performing, what am I? Ed took her hands. They were ice cold. You're Judy Garland. That's enough. That's always been enough. But not like this, not killing yourself for applause. The assistant came back with coffee, crackers. Ed made Judy eat. She managed a few bites. The coffee helped. After 10 minutes, some clarity returned to her eyes. She looked at Ed, really looked at him. I can do it. I can get through one song. I've done it 100 times worse than this. Ed studied her face. She was lying. To him, to herself. But he also knew that if he cancelled her appearance, she'd never work again. The industry would blacklist her completely, call her unreliable, uninsurable. It would be the final nail in a coffin that was already mostly closed. Ed made his decision. You're going on, but I'm changing things. You're not singing Over the Rainbow. You're singing The Man That Got Away. Slower tempo. You can sit on a stool. And I'm walking you to that stage myself. If you start to fall, I'm catching you. If you can't finish, I'm ending it. Do you understand? Judy nodded. Too exhausted to argue. Too desperate to refuse. 20 minutes later, Ed Sullivan walked onto his stage and did something he almost never did. He explained. He told the audience that Judy Garland was about to perform, that she'd been struggling, that she'd been through more than most people could imagine, that she was here tonight, not because it was easy, but because she was a fighter. And then he said something that made the entire studio hold its breath. Judy Garland is one of the greatest talents this country has ever produced, and we haven't taken care of her the way we should have. So tonight, I want you to not just watch her perform. I want you to see her, really see her. And remember that behind every star is a human being. The curtain opened. Judy was sitting on a stool. The lights were dimmed, softer than usual. Ed had insisted. The band started playing, and Judy began to sing. Her voice, that legendary voice, was cracked, rough, but it was real. Every note carried pain. Every word felt like a confession. The audience was silent, not because they were entertained, because they were witnessing something they weren't supposed to see. Vulnerability, suffering, truth. Halfway through the song, Judy's voice broke. She stopped singing. The band kept playing, waiting for her to come back in. But she didn't. She just sat there, tears running down her face, unable to continue. The audience started to applaud. Slowly at first, then building. Not applause for a performance. Applause for survival. Applause for trying. Applause for being human. Ed walked onto the stage. Didn't ask permission, didn't wait for a cue, just walked out and stood beside Judy. Put his hand on her shoulder and said to the camera, "Ladies and gentlemen, Judy Garland." The applause continued. Judy looked up at Ed, whispered something. He leaned down. She said, "I'm sorry." Ed shook his head. "Don't be, you did enough." He helped her off the stage. The audience was still standing, still clapping, but it felt different than regular applause. It felt like goodbye, like they knew they were watching something ending. Ed walked Judy all the way to her dressing room, made sure her assistant had her, made sure she had food, water, a way to get home. And then he went back and finished his show like nothing had happened, like his heart wasn't breaking, like he hadn't just watched Hollywood kill another one of its children in slow motion. Judy Garland appeared on television a few more times after that night. Each time, it was harder. Each time, she was less herself. She died 6 years later, 47 years old. Found in a London bathroom. Overdose. Accidental, they said, but anyone who had watched her struggle knew the truth. It had been happening for decades, just slowly, publicly, and nobody had stopped it. Ed Sullivan never talked about that night, never mentioned it in interviews, never used it for publicity, but people who worked on the show said it changed him, made him more protective of performers, more willing to cancel appearances if someone wasn't ready, more aware that the show, as important as it was, mattered less than the people on it. Years later, when asked about Judy Garland, Ed said simply, "She was the most talented person I ever met, and we broke her. Hollywood broke her. America broke her. We loved her so much we killed her." He paused, then added, "And I'll never forgive us for that." That night in 1963, with Judy Garland barely able to stand and 30 million people waiting to watch, Ed Sullivan made a choice. He let her perform, not because it was good television, not because it would get ratings, but because she'd asked him to, because she needed to prove, one more time, that she was still Judy Garland, still valuable, still here. And Ed, knowing it might destroy her, gave her that chance, because sometimes the cruelest thing you can do is exactly what someone asks for. The cameras kept rolling. The song went unfinished. But everyone who watched understood they'd witnessed something more than entertainment. They'd witnessed the cost of fame, the price of being loved by millions, while being destroyed by the system that created you. And they'd watched Ed Sullivan, a man known for control and professionalism, choose compassion over safety, choose to let someone fail with dignity, rather than succeed by pretending. What would you have done in Ed's position? If this story moved you, consider subscribing. These moments deserve to be remembered.